Not a day goes by. Not a day goes by. Not a afternoon goes by without Manchester United in the news again. We are a mess. We are an absolute mess. As you can see, the news is broken. Marcus Rashford, according to L'Equipe, has been in contact with PSG about a potential move this summer. Julian Laurent, he says confirmation of contact between PSG and Marcus Rashford, as reported first by L'Equipe. PSG need a player who can play wide or as a 9. Rashford is keen on a new challenge 1 year before the end of his contract. No discussions yet with Manchester United. So according to L'Equipe, it's only discussions so far between the agent and the club, which if Man United are not even aware of this, have been blindsided, that's another discussion, I would say, not necessarily the main talking point right now. I guess the main talking point from this is, should Manchester United sell Marcus Rashford? Now, I said on the Football Terrace, and I'll say again, and I said this when I was actually speaking about Frankie de Jong, Serge Milinkovic-Savic, and the question was, should Man United move on from de Jong and get Savic? And I said the issue is that we're just talking about one over the other. We were linked with a couple forwards this summer. Gakpo, Anthony, Darwin Núñez, obviously striker, Sesko, for argument's sake. This wasn't on the backdrop of selling Marcus Rashford. There was talk, granted, about selling Anthony Martial, but we were still linked with Sesko, obviously when the news about Ronaldo broke, and linked with Anthony. Regardless of what happened with everyone, we were still linked with Anthony. Now the discussion is becoming, sell Marcus Rashford, get the money, and go and buy Anthony. And I get it, we're not in for Anthony at the moment because of the price. But are you not seeing the issue here? Are you not seeing the problem here? The problem here is that we're being duped by the owners. We're being duped by the Glazers. We are accepting, and we'll get on to Marcus Rashford as in a particular, specifics. But we're being duped by the owners to accept less than what we should be doing. We are being duped into accepting, replacing players in positions where we're already light, where we're already weak. We lost Paul Pogba, Nemanja Matic, Juan Mata, Jesse Lingard, Edinson Cavani, and of course, Mason Greenwood. Ronaldo said that he wants to leave. Rashford might potentially leave. And we're talking about one in, one out at this stage, at the stage of the transfer window, where we're talking about, we should be talking about strengthening the squad, not one in, one out. We've already lost. We've already lost a number of players. Why are we doing more replacing? It needs to be additions too. Solo just said they think we're stupid. It's like they're robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's literally, but we as a fan base are falling for the trap. Yeah, sell Rashford, go and get Gakpo and Anthony. No, keep Rashford and go and get Gakpo and Anthony. We make so much money. We've released so many wages. Wages that in some cases we shouldn't even have had because we've been extending contracts to keep value for so long. We've got players here we can't even get rid of. But in the positions where we're weak, that forward line, and we're going to talk about the game on the weekend, the game that coming up. I haven't really spoken about it because I actually wasn't able to watch the game on Sunday. I watched it only fully today. So I'd watched highlights since then. But we'll talk about that and the issues. But if you look at that game on Sunday, we had Martial was injured, Ronaldo's on the bench. Ronaldo comes on, Rashford and Sancho are out wide. Who are the options off the bench? We need to change the game. And Erik ten Hag was only able to make 3 substitutions in the last few minutes to bring on Garnacho, Elanga, and someone else. I can't remember now. But obviously the game, I was watching the game back and I was still kind of tuned out by then because it was just a pathetic watch. But we want to sell one of our more senior forwards. Forget just how well he's performed, or how bad he's performed in the last 18 months. But we want to sell one of our most senior forwards to replace him, but still left in the same position. Because you replace Marcus Rashford with Antony, you may get, you hope you get better performances. But if it's not working, you need to change something, you're still left with the same options on the bench. In reality, we should be saying, all right, we'll add Antony. And if it's not working, you bring on a Marcus Rashford off the bench. That's a better position, right? It's like the same people saying, Ronaldo wants to go, sell him. Let him go. Cancel his contract. So if Martial's injured like he was on Sunday, all right, we just play Eriksen up front. That didn't work. All right, put Eriksen back in midfield. All right, let's play Bruno false 9. All right, that don't work. All right, Amad Diallo, Elanga. Let's put Rashford through the middle. We know he can't play through the middle as a lone striker, should I say. We are hamstringing ourselves because, and I'm not going to put everybody in this bracket, but there's a lot of people in this bracket because of agendas. We're not looking at it logically. We've lost so many players and we're already weak in many positions. And in terms of numbers, not in terms of quality of players, just in terms of numbers. So of senior players, we're weak in the attack. We've got a lot of numbers of quote unquote midfielders, but they're not good enough. But we want to weaken the area. The same people saying, oh yeah, Ronaldo. Agendas. You don't like Ronaldo for whatever reason. Some of the people didn't want Ronaldo in the first place. Some of them fell out with Ronaldo, so to speak, over the course of the season, blah, blah, blah. And my answer to that was, and this is why the video is titled Midfield, Rashford, and Cristiano Ronaldo, 10 Hag's big decisions. I don't mind selling players. Like, players come and go all the time, whether they're from the academy, whether you purchase them, whatever. Of course, sometimes you have more deep connection with certain players, whatever the reason. It might be from the nation that you're from. It might be that they came through the academy. It might be that they came from a club that you liked. Whatever it might be. My answer to should we sell Ronaldo? Should we sell Rashford? Should we sell Bruno? Should we sell Maguire? Should we sell Aaron Wan-Bissaka? Whatever, all those players are. We have to do what's best for Manchester United. And it doesn't mean getting rid and freeing up money to look at, to throw in the air, to hide under the bed. No. Is that money going to be reinvested into the squad? We all need to invest in the squad. So on top of what we have, invest. Then if we replace, it's reinvestment. So we need to buy a winger. So we need to buy Antony. We buy Antony, boom. We got Rashford. PSG coming with 70 million or 60 million, whatever it might be for Rashford. He said, all right, we'll take it. What are we going to do with that money? Are we going to say, we got a net spend. We spent 70 million on Antony and 70 million on Rashford where we're in the black? No, that money has to go back because we needed a forward before we sold him. So that's my answer. Do we sell Rashford? Who are we getting? And if your answer is Antony, no, because we should be getting Antony already. So that's my answer. Should we sell Rashford? Because that's my answer to pretty much every player who hasn't been signed this year. Every player that wasn't signed this year, barring Rafael Varane and Jadon Sancho, is available for sale because they've proved over, some more than others. Bruno Fernandes for less time, Cristiano Ronaldo. Well, it was Cristiano Ronaldo, but yeah, Bruno Fernandes, Cristiano Ronaldo. Trying to think, really. That's probably it. I'm not talking about the youngsters. Probably it. Other than Jadon Sancho, Rafa Varane, Cristiano Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes. Every other player has proved over a sustained period of time, whether in the past, whether in the recent past, whether right now, that they can't be trusted. So they're available. But they're available at Manchester United's benefit, not at the benefit of PSG. Or PSG need a forward. Let's help facilitate them getting a forward. No, what is best for Manchester United? That's all it comes down to. That's all it comes down to. Selling Rashford to have more money in the bank does not benefit Man United in any way. It may benefit Rashford. See, I'm not even on a case of benefiting players. People use the argument with Paul Pogba. Oh yeah, we need to sell Paul Pogba. Let him go and revive his career. No, what about us? What do we gain from selling him? If that money is going to come in and buy someone, then cool. But if that money is going to sit on our balance sheet, in our accounts, then how does that benefit Manchester United? The answer is it doesn't. But it helps certain people's agendas. But the funny thing with those agendas, when you think about it, Paul Pogba was not good enough. Good enough for Juventus. I'm not saying he should stay at Man United, but he's good enough for Juventus. Bruno Fernandes not good enough. I bet if Bruno Fernandes on the market tomorrow, all the big clubs across Europe are going to be in for him. I bet you as a fact. The fact we're having a discussion about Marcus Rashford is because PSG and Senor Mbappe, who is obviously the de facto owner, wants Marcus Rashford. So there's a decent player there. This ain't no, like PSG, as easy as the league is, as bad as it is, and as much as they've underachieved in Europe, they're a top club, consistently in the latter rounds of the Champions League and aiming to win it. They can see something in Marcus Rashford. We talk about Man United in director of football, but Luis Campos, he's a director of football over at PSG. He's clearly happy to go ahead with that signing, or at least explore the possibility. So the agenda that comes with it about him not being good enough, obviously I know people say it's best for him, blah, blah, he can revive his career, meaning that there's a career to be revived. But on the other side is, he's Trashford. He's not good enough. He's rubbish. You might be right. But I also ask, why are PSG in for him? And I know there's fans of clubs in England who'll be in for him, who would want him, should I say. I know that for a fact. I've heard him say it online. You can hear him say it yourself. But I'm not against selling him. Like, I'm not saying no way, no chance. You're not going anywhere no matter how much the bid is. I don't have that loyalty to these players because they don't deserve it. They haven't earned that loyalty that I'm going to demand that they stay. They're here, we ain't good. They go, we still ain't good. Don't make much of a difference. But we're trying to improve. And does selling Rashford improve us? No. If the answer is, well, we need to replace him, so we need to sell him, then we need to look upstairs. Why are we doing this buy to sell? We are not in a position. We are not in a position as a club to be replacing buy to sell players. Nor should we be in as a club due to our finances and how big we are. We should go out and it's nonsense. Let's stop going after Frankie de Jong and get someone else. We needed 2 midfielders anyway. So go and get someone else. All this as Solo said, taking from Peter to pay Paul. Are we just going to accept it? Really? We're not seeing through this. This is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous discussion point to have if we're not talking about adding quality to the squad in terms of both numbers and ability. Not one in, one out. It's 1 out, 2 in. because we needed one already. I would love Marcus Rashford to revive himself at Manchester United. I would love it. I have a connection with Rashford because of how he broke into the team. You remember how he broke into the team? When we needed him, because Rooney was out, Martial was out, scored 2 in the Europa League against Midfield, scored 2 against Arsenal, scored in his Manchester, so he scored on his Manchester United debut, European debut, scored in the Premier League debut against Arsenal, scored in his Manchester Derby debut. I think he might have scored in his first FA Cup game. I can't remember exactly. Scored in his England debut. I don't support England, but Rashford was killing it. So I would love to see him get back to those levels, but it's not always possible. So be it. So be it. Time, things will move on. It's not that big of a deal to. It'll be upsetting. It'll be disappointing, but we know we can move on. But only if it benefits Manchester United. Make sure to hit the like button. Let me go through some of these comments. Sammy says, bombshell. Big team still want Rashford. So it means there's a player in him. It's like when people, Man United are done, we're finished, we're dead. But then question, why would a manager want to join Manchester United? We're dead. Because there's a club in there, there's success in there waiting to be unleashed, and they think they're the one to do it. If we were dead finished, then you'll be a Portsmouth, a QPR, or a Nottingham Forest before they just come back into the Premier League. Aston Villa before they came up in the Premier League, who are still big clubs, but there's no big managers going there because they are the level before dead, so to speak. Man United, like Marcus Rashford, and I'm not comparing the two in terms of their stature, but are talents waiting to be unleashed, who have been good, who have reached a certain level before, different levels, but have reached a certain level before, and somebody feels that they are the one who to bring that level back. Now, going into the season, for me, if Martial wants to leave, let him go. As long as it benefits Man United, go and get a replacement, as well as strengthening the positions we needed before he left. If Rashford wants to go, again, I have a bigger connection with Rashford than Martial, so more reluctantly, I'll be like, okay, if he wants to go, if he's asking to leave, let him go if it benefits Manchester United. So if you can put a situation towards me where Manchester United are substantially, not even just stronger, but in a position where we should be, then at the end of the window, then I'm willing to take it. But if we're in the same position or weaker by selling him, then no, he has to stay. And they're talking about, he's got 1 year left in his contract. It's a 2 year, he got a 1 year extension. So effectively, he's contracted here for 2 more years. So the ball is in our court. We don't have to bow down to Marcus Rashford. We don't have to bow down to PSG. We don't have to do that. We need to be working on our purchases. Not thinking about who we're going to sell. We're just working on our purchases. Solo says the only person in this squad with no value and needs his contract terminated is Phil Jones. Correct. You're right. Anyone else who leaves, we should be looking to replace. I mean, Bailly has value to us because of, in terms of his ability as a player, injuries aside. But we have Maguire, Lisandro Martinez, Lindelof, and Varane, as well as Bailly and Phil Jones. So we've got 6 centre backs. 2 can go, whichever the 2 are. 2 can go without replacing them based on purely on numbers of senior centre backs. But then you have to argue, are those players good enough? That's what you're really arguing at that point. Varane is good enough. Lisandro Martinez is good enough. That means you've got 2 good senior centre backs. The 2 backups don't have to be great. So for me, 2 of our centre backs could leave outside of Martinez and Varane, and we don't need to replace them. Every other position needs to be replaced and or added on to. In midfield, if we sell Fred and get Frankie de Jong, we still need to buy another midfielder. As bad as Fred is, if we sell McTominay and buy Frankie de Jong, we still need to buy another midfielder. Because now we're a man down. If Frankie de Jong gets injured, we're back to square one. We are back to square one. Are people not realizing what's happening there? We need 2 midfielders. We need 2 forwards before we sell anyone. Also, I'll say 1 forward before we sell anyone. 2 midfielders before we sell anyone. Anything on top of that, we need to replace. You know, people ain't seeing this. People are too caught up in, I don't know what they're caught up in. In one breath, we're talking about Glazers taking money, and the next breath, we're feeding their line of reasoning of, you know, this net spend. 1 in, 1 out. No. See, come on, man. Do better than that. So it says this board is handicapping Ten Hag. Sammy says you will never hear PSG in for Martial, and he's French. And they said, hello, Neeks. Big up, bro. He deserves to leave. I'm not here to pamper for players about he deserves to leave. What benefits Manchester United? For me, that comes first and foremost. For as a fan, that is the first and foremost. He deserves to leave. Okay, that might be true. Does it benefit Man United? If the answer is no, then you got to stay. If the answer is yes, then everyone's happy. We're better. He's better off. Everyone's happy. But Man United's needs come first. Solo says we need at least 23 or 24 senior players without even looking at our academy players. And when an academy player is good enough to be a senior player, then you sell. Solo seeing it. Solo is understanding. I gotta put the Solo's getting it. We need at least 23 to 24 senior players without even looking at our academy. And when an academy player is good enough to be a senior player, then you couldn't have put it better, bro. You could not have put it better. That is it. You got 11 players on the pitch. You need 11 backups. That's 22 players already. I'm good with that. I'm good with 22. 22 senior players, and the other 3 positions are supplemented by talented youth. We ain't got 22 senior players. And I say 22 senior players in the sense of if one comes out, you're happy with the replacement. We're not even happy with the 11 that we have. We're not even happy with the 11, let alone the 22. Listen, that is a statement. That is a statement. That is the one right there. But Marcus Rashford, he might leave. This iconic picture. And it's 18 months. Yeah, people talk about 3 years. Relax. 1920, him and Marshall had their best season, 20-odd goals, 22, 23 goals across all competitions. And then 2021, first half of the season, he was good. In the last 18 months, he's been poor. It's the last 18 months. Let's keep it 100. But it's been real bad. It's been real bad. But as I say, it's the same players saying, Martial, remontada, give him another chance, are the same people saying, get rid of Rashford. Sammy, I'm going to get onto that in a second, your question. But he says, we have 6 good... Yeah, I should get onto both of them in a second. Big out yourself, Troy. Taylor, make sure you hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Share this on your socials. Jay says, Rashford swap deal for PSG, Danilo. Swap deal for Mbappe. How about that? Danilo is is he defensive midfielder, isn't it? Or am I thinking Diallo? Danilo is the Brazilian defensive midfielder. I think, can he play right back as well? I remember from Football Manager. I'm sure you could play in bare positions. But swap deal for, I don't know about that. I don't know about swap deal for Danilo. What's Danilo? Oh, Portuguese. Okay. What's he worth these days? I'm just worried about losing Rashford and ending up in a worse position. Who are we getting? And because Danilo, yeah, okay, we strengthen our midfield, but then we're playing Elanga and Sancho. Like, is this what we come to? We're getting weaker in one position to strengthen another. We need to be strengthening everywhere at the same time. So listen, I said Rashford out, Mbappe in, we're good, man. Abraham says, Neeks, I agree, bro, but he needs to improve on his game. He does, of course he does. Listen, Rashford should not be starting for Man United right now. The fact that he's starting shows the options below him. So we need to go and get a forward, and Rashford is on the bench. And if he can't force his way back into the team this year, we extend his deal as an option for 1 year and sell him in the summer. Next summer. That's simple. That's for me, that's simple. But the Glazers are hamstringing, handicapping Ten Hag, and we even got a forward. And one of our strikers want to leave, and sell Rashford. Yeah, what are we going to finish? 10th. What are we doing here, man? What are we doing? But let's talk about the midfield. So I watched the Brighton game. I watched it today, and it was bad. The thing is, it wasn't bad for 20 minutes. For 20 minutes, it was for 10 minutes, it was good. For the next 10, it was okay. Then they scored, and it was piss poor. It was piss poor. And it was the midfield issue. It was a midfield. The attack wasn't great. Bruno should have scored in the first 10 minutes. Rashford should have scored in the second half. The first chance that Ronaldo laid on for him. And then he had another chance at the back post. He was stretching, but he should have at least kept it down, kept it within the area. It was poor. Cristiano had a chance on a counter-attack. So we had opportunities at different moments in attack. Defensively, in terms of the back four alone, they weren't horrible. Martinez and Maguire weren't terrible, but they had no protection. Going forward, they were the ones dictating their attack from the back. They were the ones spreading it out to the wings, bypassing the midfield. Fred and McTominay were getting the ball, passing between each other and passing back to the defenders. Martinez was bringing it forward one side. Maguire was pinging it forward the other side. But we had no protection from the midfield. So every time Brighton got into our half, they were playing in between the lines, in between our midfield and our defense. They had their three attackers behind Welbeck. The three of them there, in between the lines. No pressure on the ball. And they were easily just slipping this ball down the line, in between the channels, in between the fullback and the centre-back on Maguire's side, and in between the fullback and Martinez. So Shaw and Martinez on the left-hand side. And that's how their first goal came. Welbeck down that inside channel, ball comes across, and at no point have McTominay and Fred engaged the Brighton midfielders. That's what, and then similar for the second goal. We get caught on the counter attack. Fred doesn't know whether to come and go. He finally drops back. He's on his heels when the ball comes across the area, and it's a tap-in. So we weren't building up our attacks through our midfield, and the midfield weren't shielding the defense. So what's their purpose? What is their purpose? They have no as a pairing, they have no purpose. As individuals, they have a purpose. As individuals, they have strengths. But as a pair, they cannot work together. Jay says during the Brighton game, the defense was too deep, leaving so much space. Potentially. But when there's no pressure on the ball from the midfield and the attack, having a high line, you're susceptible now, because you can just ping it down there. Maguire's going to get beaten for pace by Welbeck every single time. Martinez ain't exceptionally quick. So if you're going to play a high line, the press needs to start from the front. Has to. It was even so with Liverpool at times, Arsenal at times. Obviously, they're pushing high, they're pressing. But if the press ain't perfect, that ball down the channel, that ball over the top, the striker or the winger can run onto it. So I think as the game got on, as the first half kind of went on, they started dropping a bit deeper. But we had no pressure on the ball. I said Brighton had the freedom of Old Trafford. Look up, take a touch, ping it in, go out wide. down the channel, in between. Like, so I don't 100% blame the defense for dropping deep because they have to kind of protect themselves. They had no protection in front, so they kind of had to protect themselves. But ideally, the whole team pushes up and presses better. Going back quickly, so it says Rashford made a mistake playing in the Euros with injuries and then missed start of our season and missed pre-season, slowing down the progress he was making. Question is, can he get to a level? Big question if he can get back to a level. He should have. And considering what happened at the Euros, it's even more that he should have just had the surgery and came back fully. But yes, going back to the midfield. So obviously, McTominay got booked. So we thought McTominay would come off. It was actually Fred who came off. It was a bad tactical decision from Ten Hag to play Eriksen as the false nine. It was weird because Eriksen was lined up as a false nine, but he was moving all over the place. It was a real false nine. It was interchange because Bruno would run in at times and he would play those balls in. So it was very, very flexible with that four, specifically with those two, Bruno and Eriksen. But it didn't work. And as I said on the Football Terrace earlier today, and I think someone kind of misinterpreted what I was saying. I've given Ten Hag 1. Now you know what we know about McFred. I don't expect to see it again. If he plays it again, I'm not going to say Ten Hag out. But if he plays it again and it don't work, which more often than not, it's not going to work, I can't excuse him for doing it. I can't say, oh, it's the first game. What can I say? Oh, it's the second game? I can't say that. We all know it's two years aiming good enough. It was functional at times, playing on the counter-attack. But in the way that Ten Hag wants to play, it's never going to work. Because one of those midfielders have to go and get the ball off the back four. Fred can't do it. The ball's coming into him. Different parts of the pitch. The ball coming into him, he's miscontrolling the ball. His pass is too short. And everyone knows that when the ball comes into Fred, press him. It's not going to work. So one of those two players in the midfield has to be comfortable on the ball, comfortable facing their own goal. And as you said, as a solo said, when we looked more in control when Eriksen was deep, and that helped us squeeze him in the second half. There's two things on that. Brighton were 2-0 up. So their ability to now sit back and play on the counter-attack is enhanced on that. So because we saw this last season, we saw this at times under Oli, when we're trailing, we then how can we look so much better in the second half? Yeah, because the team's allowing us to play. Because now they're like, all right, we're going to sit back compact and play on the counter attack. So we have to take that into consideration. But yes, you are right. Once Eriksen came back into the midfield, he was able to retrieve the ball off the back four comfortably. You can't press him like you can do with Fred and McTominay. And then we can build our attacks from there. And as you said, we should have scored more than the one goal in the second half. Rashford had one glorious chance and another opportunity as well. So that's why I said I'll give him 1. You've seen it. You know it ain't going to work. I know it ain't going to work. Let's not do that again. It has to be Fred and Donny, or Fred and Eriksen, or McTominay and Eriksen, or McTominay and Donny. My preference, based on what we saw against Brighton, would be Fred and Eriksen. But I'm not against Fred and Donny. I'm not against it. And maybe you even put Eriksen in one of the 3 behind the striker. You put Ronaldo there. Maybe you have Eriksen come off the left, which he was picking up those positions. You might have Bruno coming off the right with Sancho on the left, or whatever it is. But it has to be a ball-playing midfielder, someone who's comfortable on the ball to take the ball off the defense. Now, the problem we have Donny playing there, and I don't know if it's because it's just the way he plays or it's the instructions he's given. He's not the one. He doesn't drop in and take the ball. He'll get the ball and he'll lay it off. It's like he's very quick to pass the ball on, but the reality is all the other players don't play that one-touch give and go. So he gets it, gives it away, and he doesn't get it back for a while because he's not one who's going to hunt it down. So I am a bit susceptible to even Donny playing in that too, unless he's given the specific instruction you're the one to retrieve that ball and advance it forward. He doesn't really carry the ball forward. So in the Brentford game now, it has to be Eriksen and I would say Fred, because he's got that ability, that tenacity to run around. Now, of course, you're then thinking about set pieces, and you need McTominay for the height. You got McTominay, Maguire. You'd have, Rashford. He's not short. Ronaldo. You're looking really at 4 players who've got height. If you take out McTominay, then all you've got is Maguire, Ronaldo, and potentially Rashford. And I wouldn't say. I mean, yeah, that's not great. It's not great if we're talking about set pieces, both attacking and defensive, to be fair. But Eriksen, for me, in the Brentford game, has to go into that midfield. Somebody who's comfortable on the ball to start. You can't just rely on our centre backs to start our attacks and ping out to the wing. It's too easy to play against, and those two in the middle aren't protecting the defense. So if you can't be good on the ball and you can't be good off the ball, pick one. You either play without the ball and you have 2 players who are defensively solid, or you play with the ball and you have players who can do something with the ball, with possession, and knowing that you're not going to be as defensively solid without the ball. That's the way I look at it. So I hope to see Eriksen and Fred starting against Brentford at a push, Donny, McTominay. But the combination of Fred, listen, I would even have a combination of Eriksen and Donny before I see a combination of Fred and McTominay again. It don't work. And the pressure is building on them, and they know it. There's a comment here. Where was it? Troy Taylor says, our players are mentally weak and can't handle pressure. They can only perform with no fans, so the fans walk out might actually make them perform better. That's funny. But you saw what happens when we go 1-0 down. It got worse. The passing between those two, Fred and McTominay, got even worse. The pressure is on them. They know what the fans are saying. They know what the media is saying, social media, mainstream media. They know what the fans, they can feel what the fans are saying and booing and etc. They can't handle that pressure. So if they already got technical deficiencies, it's only going to be exacerbated with the mental deficiencies. They can't start together. And I think you'll see better performances from both of them. When one is allowed to just kind of get up and down the pitch as an 8, a box to box, you will see them as an individual play better. I'm not saying this is the utopia. We're going to be the best team now. Once you get Eriksen in there, I'm not saying that, but it's going to be better. It's going to be better. It damn sure can't be worse. As a bottom line, it can't be worse. It might be the same. You lose from one thing, you get gain from another, but it ain't going to be worse. It can't. And if it's worse, try something different. We are not going to be successful with them 2 in the midfield too. We know that for damn sure. And all we're aiming for is success. So it says Fred is an 8. He doesn't have the touch or football IQ to play with his back to goal. Well, more of his face to goal, facing his own goal, should I say. Back to the opposition goal. But obviously, you're on area. You're on half when you're starting those attacks. Jay says Ghana 6 is the key. Just needs game time. You hope that it can, but it's just, do you throw him in the deep end in this situation? It's so risky. It's so risky to just throw him in the deep end in this situation. So this is, I could see Fred and Ghana working with Fred's energy and Ghana's passing ability. Yeah, that's the statement I just made. It's just, you can potentially, a lot of our young players come in and it's like, remember, the midfield issue is so big that whoever's coming in there has a big responsibility on their hands to deal with the expectation, the pressure of having to kind of overhaul our midfield deficiencies. To give that to a young lad, 21 years old, first time playing for Man United, I don't think that's fair. Other players, young players, like Rashford, potentially like Martial, have crumbled under the pressure of, well, it's all up to you now. You have to lead our attack. You're the savior. Are we going to do that with Ghana as well? I don't think we can. We can't ruin their career, their future, for the sake of Man United's present, when them in the present is not guaranteed to save us in the present. So why ruin both? If we have to suffer in the present for the greater good in the future, so be it. But we can't ruin the future to save the present, and the present is not guaranteed. It's not. So Ghana I would like to see him there this season, but we can't go into season and say, right, Ghana, you are our 6. If it works, it works. But I just don't think that's fair. I don't think it's fair on him. Solo says, I could see Fred and Ghana working for possibility. Ericsson Depot will be close to the kind of player Carrick had. On the ball, yes. But Carrick still had the defensive instincts. He wasn't like a crunching tackler or anything like that. He wasn't a physical specimen. But knowing where to be, intercepting the ball, still being able to, jostle for possession, etc. Has Ericsson got that on a consistent basis? We haven't seen that. But on the ball, yeah, 100%. Comfortable in possession, able to start attacks and dictate the play. But it's something we'll just have to accept the defensive deficiencies and maybe ask Fred, yeah, you're going to have to sit with him. Frankie de Jong is more, and that's why the whole Frankie de Jong thing is important. And we're going to get onto the other options in a second. Because he's not a defensive midfielder in the mode of a traditional defensive midfielder. But what Ericsson did in the second half is what Ten Hag wants de Jong to do. You go and get the ball off the back four. But what he had at Ajax was, I can't remember who it was now. Was it Pulse? I can't remember. Paulson? I can't remember now. But he had someone beside him who was doing that defensive kind of running. He was just dictating the play from deep. So he was a deep line playmaker as a defensive midfielder, but it was the person next to him who was doing the combative work. And that's where the Fred comes in. That's where McTominay will come in. There's a couple comments before. So Sammy said, Real Madrid fan, he said, we have 6 good CMs, Neeks. We could lend you one. Can I have Camavinga? Can I have Tchouaméni? Can I have Casemiro? Can I have Cruz? Can I have Modric? Who's the other one? Valverde? Like, I'll take any of them. I'll take any of them. I'm not going to lie. We were in for Camavinga, or linked with him at least. We never had a chance with Tchouaméni. That was between Liverpool and Real Madrid. But yeah, we definitely need one. We definitely need one of them. Sammy says, do I mind Rabiot? I said, we need 2 midfielders. And we needed 2 midfielders from the time the transfer window opened. The thing with the Rabiot deal, which I'm not losing my head about it. Obviously, it wasn't one of our first choices, but I'm not losing my head about it because at the fee that he would command, about 50 million, it doesn't prevent us getting de Jong if that is a possibility. Realistically, de Jong is not coming. He's either going to stay at Barcelona or go to Chelsea. But the door is still open when you get someone like de Jong. Of course, if you go and get someone like a Neves, then that door's closed. Doesn't mean we still need another midfielder, but you're going to go for someone who's maybe a Milinkovic Savic, box-to-box midfielder in that way. But for me, I mean, I'll take Rabiot. Rabiot has a bit of baggage. That's the problem. It's the a lot of the off the field stuff more so than the on the field. But at 15 million, I don't have a big issue. My issue is that we're in the position where we have to go for Rabiot, not the fact that we might get Rabiot himself. If you get what I'm saying, we need more. We need more. Rabiot ain't solving our problems. He helps or assists with solving a problem, but it doesn't solve our problems. Ray 2 says those who are the most talented unanimously should be the most criticized. We call X player who has less ability, then Y rubbish, but expect more. It's like criticizing people for working hard. That's it. Like, even when it comes to the whole Fred and McTominay thing, I criticize the production that we get from the midfield, but I don't go in on McTominay, and I don't go in on Fred, because they are what they are. They're never gonna be what we need them to be. So how can I be angry for them not being what we want them to be? However, when we have someone like a Pogba, someone like a Martial, I criticize them highly because they can be what we want them to be. But in or too frequently, they're not what we would need them to be. I hope that makes sense. But people go in on the ones who aren't good enough for not being good enough. It's not that. Get at the board for not getting players better than what they are, than what we have, should I say, sorry. Sola says, Rabiot with Neves works for me. They're better than McFred, but Wolves will still want a lot this time of the window. I think they probably wanted a lot at the beginning of the window. But listen, pay it. I'm willing to pay 60, 70 million for Neves. I'm not going to lie. I've liked Neves for years now. So maybe that's just me and my preference as well. Behind the man lies another man, so on. Ten Hag chooses the players end of the day, so why can I be angry? Ten Hag, he would have agreed to Rabiot, he would have agreed to Arnautovic. But they clearly weren't his first and arguably even his second or third choice signings. We know that based on the links. We know that based on the time that we're going in for them. So if he wants those players, if they were to join them, I'll support them unless other reasons. But I criticize the fact that we are in a position where we're going for his third, fourth, fifth choice targets. That's the issue. I'm not blaming him for us having to go for our third, fourth, fifth choice targets. But I criticize the situation that Manchester United as a club are in, that we're having to focus on those targets. That's not his fault. He's walked through a mess. He's walked into a complete mess. But we end how we started. Actually, before that, it's the Cristiano Ronaldo. I did, because the way it was, I kind of touched on Cristiano Ronaldo before. What does he do? What does Ten Hag do with Cristiano Ronaldo? And as I said, I mentioned already in terms of whether he leaves or not. The question is, what benefits the club? Are we going to replace him? Who are we going to replace him with? And if you can give me the name of the player who we're going to replace him with that strengthens us, then Ronaldo can go. I would like Ronaldo to keep his record of the Champions League, his goal record, etc. I want him to retire as the highest goal scoring, Champions League player, etc., etc. But not at the behest of Manchester United. Not at the behest of Manchester United. So if we can get a player in that can strengthen the attack and that allows Ronaldo to go, so be it. But I can't just let Ronaldo go because he wants to go. No, you signed a contract. There's even an extension, potentially extension in it, which is crazy. But there's no release clause in it if we don't get Champions League, which is crazy on his part. And you have to honor it until said otherwise. So as far as Brentford goes, Ronaldo has to start. If Martial's not fit, Ronaldo has to start. Ronaldo has to start. Eriksen has to go into the midfield. And we go again. As far as Marcus Rashford goes, so there was just some news from Sky Sports, and he says Marcus Rashford, let's see, PSG are looking to sign a forward this month, but at this stage they are unlikely to follow up their initial interest in Marcus Rashford. Man United are relaxed about the situation because Rashford is committed to the club and he effectively has 2 years left on his contract, 1 plus an option for another year. Rashford representatives are believed to have held talks with PSG last week. PSG have already signed players such as Renato Sanchez, Vitinha, and Hugo Ekitike this summer. They are in talks to sign Fabian Ruiz from Napoli. That would have been a good player for us. And any more rivals are likely to depend on more players leaving the club. PSG have declined to comment on the reports in France this evening, linking it with a move for Marcus Rashford. It's not the first time they've actually been linked. I think it was back in February, March that they were linked with him. So this little bromance that we see here between Rashford and Mbappe, and I believe that Mbappe does like Rashford, has a good relationship and would like to play with him, it's unlikely to be realized this summer. But if Rashford has a season like he has been playing for the last 18 months, the next summer, like a lot of players, Marcus Rashford, you're going to have to go. like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for all your comments, all your support, and I'll see you lot soon.